Do the words free time or relaxation sound foreign to you? Perhaps you've been stuck in the office too long, battling cyber threats or worrying about the next strain of ransomware. Let Sophos help provide peace of mind 24/7, 365 with cybersecurity delivered as a service. Because we want you to get back to your weekends, family dinners, and everything in between. And you'll get there with Sophos. Visit securityweekly.com/Sophos to learn more. The cybersecurity landscape is full of single solution providers, making it easy for unexpected cyber threats to sneak through the cracks. That's why Fortra is creating a stronger, simpler strategy for protection, one that increases your security maturity while decreasing the operational burden that comes with it. This is all possible thanks to Fortra's best-in-class portfolio and deep bench of expert problem solvers. Fortra's integrated, scalable solutions help customers face their toughest challenges with confidence. Learn more at securityweekly.com/Fortra, Fortra. Welcome back to Enterprise Security Weekly. Join our Discord channel to chat with our hosts, ask questions, customize live stream alerts, and more. Visit securityweekly.com/Discord to receive an invite. And I also post stuff in there during the while we're interviewing people. If there's some kind of reference somebody brings up, I'll go find the like the article from mentioned earlier today from Kelly Shortridge, Regex in retrograde. I posted that in the Discord. You can find that there. And for the Enterprise Security Weekly news, you can also go to our show notes at securityweekly.com/ESW321 if you want to follow along there. Check out those links. All right, we now have Mr. Tyler Shields joining us. So all four of us are here. And it's time for the news. Howdy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks.
All right. I think I mislabeled this first one. I think this is an acquisition.
The Black Point, it says growth round, and it's listed in some of the announcements as a Series C or quasi-Series C.
LinkedIn says they have 132 employees. It's like $1 million per employee. Over.
That would be amazing.
It would be amazing. Their headcount growth is 45% over the last 6 months. Who's been growing at that rate?
It's a good 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are the numbers behind that? Is that 10 to like 18, or is that 100 to whatever the numbers are above that?
So last 6 months, that would be so this time last year they had just under 80 employees. They haven't quite doubled that.
But MDR company, you guys just got done talking about MDR, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, over the last year, they've added 80%, 87% to their engineering, 100% to biz dev, 50% to sales. Yeah, I guess they're growing pretty quick, but I don't know. Okay, Series C, maybe for a services
it's
company.
It's a little weird though, because their previous rounds were 7 and 6, and then to jump to 190.
Yeah,
and crazy. It's Bain.
It's Bain.
I mean, it's not. I know it's not that Bain, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this works. It's just the numbers are just telling me like, how do they throw that kind of money at them and not own them? I don't know.
Good question.
All right. If you have any insight into that, just hop into my DMs. Let me know. Let's see what else here. So I think this is number 3 is a French company, Elba. We've seen a lot of these user-focused or employee-focused is kind of a trending phrase in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And reminds me a lot of push and nudge security, which are kind of competing with the company I work for, but kind of not, because they're PLG focused. It's like they have a free tier. You can just jump in there, start using it. Doesn't have not a whole lot of feature parity with what we do, but they do give you some good visibility into what's connected to your SaaS accounts.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a fair amount of this kind of human-centric approach, or this focusing on the humans and the employee security posture, which I don't know how you really quantify that. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out across the board. Like, what makes something a employee security posture? Is that just like their ability to handle phishing or something like that? Like, I'm not sure exactly what that really means.
So for us, the idea is that a lot of your SaaS is managed, like your Salesforce admins don't even sit in IT, right? Like a lot of your SaaS admins, like who owns Gong, right? Like it's not somebody in IT. These are people just into business. So you need to get them kind of roped into security operations type stuff, right?
Yes, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I've seen a few pitches that are kind of different around some of this stuff, like getting your employees back to actually contribute to feedback loops on security risks and things that are occurring in real time. Then I've also seen pitches that are, employee-centric around, being a newer version of like a know before or something like that. So there's just lots of different definitions of what that could be. So I'm seeing a lot of it come in.
Yeah. That's pretty good though, Katie. Push, we've got the back channel going here. We're talking about push, nudge, and elbow. Push, shove, and elbow.
Push, nudge, elbow, kick, and scream. We can name all of
I am
those.
going to make you like cybersecurity, practice good security hygiene, whether I have to push, shove, or elbow you out of the way.
Yeah, it kind of escalates. Like there's the gentle nudge, then there's the push, then there's scream security. You just scream at your employees open, and it's like Harry Potter, like you can receive the letter that's what was it called, a howler, and the letter literally screams at you.
Maybe that should be
opens,
security's
becomes
next
a mouth
tactic.
and starts screaming.
Use your freaking password vault.
Yeah, really.
I only want that if it comes in your voice, Katie.
Oh, that would make
great.
people use it to make it stop.
I've always wanted road instructions that berate me for doing the wrong thing. I've always thought that should be a feature where Sam Jackson is just yelling at you for being an idiot and taking a left when it said a right.
Turn, you dummy.
Yeah.
My fiance swears on his life that his GPS once yelled at him after he was going verbally ballistic on another driver and told him to please stop using that language.
Come on.
Oh, wow.
I was not there, but he swears on his life that he was told, please don't use that language while driving.
It's listening.
Rage detection. That's great. Yeah, I mean, we've got all the driver aids now that like check to see how tired you are. Like literally there's a camera, infrared camera watching your face, watching your eyes. So it's only a piece of software away. We're so close. Yeah, we got an acquisition here. So hadn't heard of the company, but Outpost 24 acquired an external attack surface management company, Sweepatic. But there's a ton of these. Attack surface management is fairly easy to put together with open source tools. So we've seen a lot of these popping up, and there's a lot of value in knowing the gaps, the stuff you have exposed to the internet that's going to hurt you. So I kind of like seeing this. I like, any kind of vulnerability management vendor makes sense for them to have this. MSPs, MDRs makes sense for anybody who needs to be aware of threats, right?
Yeah, the whole EASM market was interesting. I felt like there was a bit of a roll-up that occurred 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, something like that.
Yeah,
18. Yeah, well, I don't remember exactly, but they started to get picked up left and right, and then that kind of left pennies on the ground, I guess, at some point, right? And I'm not sure if any of them left that are getting picked up are worth it anymore.
So a couple years back, I created a thing called Security Weekly Labs, and we did product testing. And the first category I did was external attack surface management. And going back, you can still find that on semagazine.com if you go to research and then Security Weekly Labs. And just looking at the list, I reviewed 9 products, and Bit Discovery was acquired by Tenable. Psycognito is still around. There's I don't think they've been picked up. I don't know if AlphaWave has been picked up. AminoWeb is a Swiss. Yeah, AminoWeb is a Swiss company. They're not getting picked up. Intrigue went to Mandiant, and then Mandiant went to Google. And Phobos was like an independent. They're mainly a services organization, so I'm not surprised that hasn't been picked up. Randori was picked up by IBM, and RiskIQ was picked up by Microsoft. So roughly half of them got acquired.
Yep. Question is, are there any good ones left?
There's still new ones coming out. I advised a couple companies that are still in stealth with theirs just in the past couple of months. Because I did those product reviews, like these kind of late to market folks will get in touch with other founders or will find my stuff and get in touch with me, and I'll have a phone call with them. So yeah, they're still popping up. What's still brand new ones that haven't come out yet.
Like, what's really the space left open for differentiation in that area?
I think the biggest differentiation they're ones that just scan internet stuff. I thought the most interesting thing about the market was were the products where it didn't depend on you to put the correct input in. Like maybe you put a typo in a domain name, or you put a typo in an IP address range or something like that. I've actually seen this happen quite often in enterprises. Or you just don't know about ranges that your company owns. Like some of these, like I remember back when Equifax got hacked, I was doing some research on how much IP address space they owned, and it was like 80,000 publicly routable IP addresses they owned. Like that's a lot to monitor. It's easy to miss some of that stuff. And what I called seed discovery, nobody uses that term. They all have their own terms for it. But the idea is you just put in the name of a company, and they'll figure all that out for you. From the name of the company, they'll link that to SSL certificates. They'll link it to domain registration and who is. They will look at business records, and if your company acquires another company, they know they should probably start scanning that new company that you just acquired. So they'll go all the way down that rabbit hole and follow that thread as far as it goes. And yeah, you're going to have to go in there and manage it a little bit and, prune it a little bit maybe. But they will, in every case I've seen, with a company that's been around for any serious amount of time that has any significant size, they're going to find stuff you don't know about. Let's see what else here. So I have a little bit of a rant about company names. This is a common topic for us, but there's a new company called Private Tech. And so of course, the first thing I Googled, like there were no funding details, or there were funding details, but not a link. I needed somewhere I could link to that mentioned the funding details. So like an idiot, I Googled Private Tech funding.
There's 80,000 links that you'll never find anything important on.
More like 80 million. It's impossible to Google this company because their name is a very common term that people will enter into search engines. So they're forever going to run up against this. And though it's sad that Redacted is apparently going out of business, we talked about them when they came out of stealth on this show, and we were giving them a hard time then for their name because the first round of press releases that came out, I actually got irritated that they wouldn't share the actual name of the company and we didn't cover them. And eventually I realized, no, Redacted is the name of the company. And it's like stylized with brackets on either end of the word redacted.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought when I saw Private Tech was, is this like a distant cousin to Redacted because it's about as good a name?
So I'm thinking, like, is it possible they're going under because they couldn't raise money because everybody ignored their emails because they thought the name of the company was being redacted and not shared? Like, you only want to take clever so far, and then being clever just hurts you, I feel like. Or maybe the name is less relevant than I think it is, and I'm just going on a rant.
Well, that's possible
Sure.
too, but it's also possible that the amount of thought and consideration that they put into their name is reflective of the amount of thought and consideration they put into their tech.
Zing.
Zing.
Shots
I
fired.
say this knowing absolutely nothing about either redacted or private tech.
Well said, Katie. That is definitely something to take into account also. So yeah, that was number 6, and where's the other one that? Number 12 under shutdowns. So yeah, we have both a layoffs and a shutdown section in the news this week.
Shutdowns is scary,
and not a lot of fundings. So this is kind of a dour week for the news, and we don't usually see as many layoffs and shutdowns announced as fundings and acquisitions. So there's some bad exits. The other one is I'd never heard of Apora, but that's the other company we have going under shutdowns. It's an Israeli company that does what? I don't actually know what they do.
What number is it?
It is number 11.
Apora. I've never even heard of such a thing.
Opora's software works outside the networks of a particular organization to detect potential cyber attacks targeting the organization well before they occur. So, okay. So we were talking about external attack surface management. There's actually kind of like a subset there. It's like reputation management, that kind of thing, where they would actually look for indications that somebody's setting up phishing infrastructure targeting your employees. Or maybe like, you suddenly see a fake app in an app store with your brand name on it or something like that. So, didn't
ZeroFox do something similar to that for a while too?
Yep.
And
so that kind of falls under the
well for them in the public markets too, as they're trading on pennies right now.
Yeah, they actually had a good week though. They had a good announcement where if you look at the security funded newsletter, they had a pretty positive week. They are now trading for significantly more pennies than they were last week.
All right.
I mean, it's still like $1.11 a share, but they're doing better.
Yeah, they're at $1.17 after hours.
Yeah, so digital reputation protection, I think something like that was I forget the exact acronym, but I consider it like a part of external attack surface management, like recognizing when somebody's preparing to attack you, those little fingerprints that they're starting a phishing campaign or other attacks. So yeah, layoffs, Expel. Speaking of MDRs, managed services, security services company, from everything I've heard, word of mouth, one of the better ones out there. So kind of sad to see some layoffs there, but if it means the company survives. Dragos also announcing layoffs, and there are at least 3 or 4 other companies where people have privately mentioned to me that there were layoffs. I haven't seen any news stories on it, but if you go to LinkedIn and you look at the insights, you can see the drop in employees. So it's not exactly something you can keep secret when LinkedIn basically tracks the movement of employees. But there's a lot more layoffs than we're showing in the news segment here, or in the show note.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, specifically, like, how you treat these layoffs, I think, is so important. And I haven't read the entire details on the Expel one, but I would not be surprised if Dave and Justin and team didn't take care of their folks. But in kind of the quick skim I did, every departing person's offered a 2-month severance and paid Cobra throughout the end of the year. So that's a good 6 months of Cobra. That's a meaningful help, given the fact that they're doing layoffs because they need to save money, right? So the ability to find that looking out for their teammates, I think, is super important.
And I think the tone from the top is it really does say a lot. And while it's unfortunate that layoffs and firings and all of these things, restructuring, have to happen at some points, I think it says a lot about the company if the person at the head of the organization is taking some personal responsibility. You know, I did read the whole Dragos announcement, and he says right out there, this is on me. I am the CEO, and whether he did things right or wrong, that's not really relevant here at this time. The amount of empathy you have for your employees and the ability to hire back when the market gets better.
Exactly, Katie. You got to hire back at some point. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to leave your employees in a lurch.
You don't want to leave your employees in the lurch. And if it gets around the industry, we're a big industry, but also small industry in a lot of ways. Yeah. If it gets around that you treat your people poorly when they're on the way out the door, people are going to know.
They ain't going to come back in.
No.
Yeah, and this one as well did something similar, right? So they did 2 months of severance, so same severance, but they only did 2 additional months of Cobra paid for. But what they did interesting was waiving the year cliff for vesting, which means that if you had been there 6 months, you instant vest 6 months, right? So you don't have to wait for your 1 year cliff. And instead of keeping people at a 90-day holding period till they 90-day allotment until they have to buy their shares or lose them, they're extending that to 12 months, which is very, very beneficial for the employee base as well. So they helped in other ways, but again, they were trying to find ways to help their employees as much as they could in difficult times.
And I just think generous. I've heard of other things also behind the scenes too, where the CEO or the hiring managers have basically blamed the employees for things going wrong, blamed every department as it comes up, and not taken any personal stake in it. And that's not a good look for your company. And word is going to get around one way or the other. And whether it's not being able to hire back or having potential prospects hear about this second or third or fourth hand, it's going to come back on you. If you are an executive at a company who can't take any personal responsibility, even though the economic environment is bad, we all understand that there are things that are somewhat out of our control right now. But if you are an executive of a company, especially if you have a C in your title, and you don't have, I mean, if you're saying it, you should believe it. But if you're not even saying it, that's horrible. And if you don't even believe it in your heart of hearts that you could have done something different, maybe you can't save everybody's job. But if you don't think you're at any fault, if you're at one of those companies, I say run.
The number one thing I learned when I started working for startups is talk to somebody who's either worked there before or worked with those same founders or people before accepting a position. And I'm not going to be specific. If I'm too specific, people might be able to work out what company I'm talking about. But one of the co-hosts here with me right now helped me avoid going to work for a company that, after I heard about the executive's behavior, I just had no interest in going to work for. So, yeah. Absolutely. Like that's both the number one thing you can do before joining a company and the number one reason you got to treat your employees right, regardless of how dark the situation or how pissed off you are. It's going to affect your future ability to acquire talent and get back to growing the company when things get better, if things get better. Moving to a more positive story here. If you guys would click on number 7, the Apple new privacy and security features. A lot of good features in here. Like a lot of them aren't groundbreaking, but I got down to the sensitive content warning section there. If you want to like search on page for that. And it's just so simultaneously, like, it's a great move. It's about time that you have a feature like this, but at the same time, you know, I know exactly why this feature exists, and it's kind of sad that it has to
Being
exist.
female, it took me a little longer to get there, but I read the section a few times and then I went, oh, that's what he means.
This feature's not for us, Katie. This feature this is proportionally, I'm sure, happening more to you and other women.
Okay, maybe I'm just naive, but it took me a little while to get there. But I finally was like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Ashley Madison, you know.
But yeah, it's yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice that we've gotten to this level of polish, you know, that you know, if only we could get there for the people who work for like social media companies who have to do, you know, the kind of sensitive content work, you know, that they're still getting traumatized on a daily basis, but at least the average person can avoid some of the garbage, you know, that ends up in your feeds, on your phones, that kind of stuff.
I could even see AI bots quitting from that when they're hired to do those jobs. Like, it's awful.
I do wish it came on more than just Apple platforms, though, right? Because I think it's also a situation where we have a unique situation because we have hardware all the way up through software kind of in a single lockdown ecosystem that allows Apple to do some more advanced protections that may not be able to be implemented other places. And the trade-off for that is you are locked into their universe, right? And so I wish we could see some, and I haven't read all these. Maybe these make sense in that context, and maybe they don't. But, you know, conceptually, I wish this were options that we could see in Android and other places quickly as well.
And for folks listening who are still scratching their head, I'll just sum it up for you. Apple now has an anti-dick pic feature. It's just the simplest way to say it. That's what it is.
It is. Yeah.
And it's sad that it has to be there, but it's also good that it's there.
So for all those who like sending it pictures of Richard Milhouse Nixon, that will be blocked as well.
Exactly. There you go.
No, nobody's going to complain about that. That's an acceptable trade-off, in my opinion. All right. So my company has jumped on the bandwagon. We added generative AI to our product. But I'm pretty excited about it because it's it's an area where I feel like this is how we're going to see a lot of it used. I think it's kind of similar to how I think Orca was one of the first ones I heard of that added it, and we're building it in a similar way. But it's all those workflows where you end up, somebody shows you an alert or a finding, and the next thing you do is you open up 10 tabs to research that alert or finding. And we're trying to cut down on that, have generative AI pull in all that information, summarize it for you, so that you don't have to, it doesn't just ruin your focus and workflow to have to open a bunch of extra tabs and go do that research. So not the sexiest use case, but something that is going to save people tons of time, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm actually really happy to be seeing AI pop into a lot of the cyber tools and systems and workflows that we use. I think I think we're living in a spot where the large data sets are just growing so fast and so astronomically that AI over the top of it makes the most sense that we've ever seen before. Even if you discount the advent of the modern generative AI and just say, hey, the data sets that we have are so big and so broad and so deep, we just can't consume it without an automated system. So it's nice to see it coming into play.
So I had a hot take last week that blew up a little bit. I saw that Forbes had created a top 200 list of the most secure companies, and that just kind of struck me as a bad idea to put 200 companies up on a pedal and say,
Challenge accepted? Is that what you're thinking?
What's that?
Challenge accepted? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, what's happened every single time, Oracle Unbreakable? What's happened every time a company or an individual has challenged the public on getting hacked? HB Gary. It doesn't end well.
Remember the old Oracle from in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
I think it was when,
Unbreakable.
Harry, whatever her name is, said that they were unbreakable. Like that lasted like a month.
Well, they had a whole Unbreakable Linux campaign, and it was more about availability than it was about security. But still, it wasn't a good look for them. They didn't come out of that looking very good. But,
yeah, and what's interesting about this is they actually say how they rank. And so they say ranking was based on a variety of factors such as network security, potential malware exploits, regularity of patches, the robustness of the company's cybersecurity team, and companies must have had at least $1 billion in 2022 revenue and no breaches since January 1st, 2022. I found this list to be very interesting. I was glad to see, or I guess smiled when I saw some of our own customers on it. But it does kind of beg that question of what is the purpose behind a list like this, especially when they start naming CISOs at each of these different major companies.
Well, and somebody's already pointed out, number 61 on the list, Cisco, the food delivery company Cisco, SYSCO, not the network services and software company, already had a breach. And they announced it back in May. They announced it 35 days before this list went public. So already the list is wrong. So it's just and they're selling awards for it. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the that top 200 list, you can can buy basically like it's like a merch store for being on the list, basically.
Oh no.
Well, maybe at least the CISO. Maybe at least the CISO at one of these companies can be like, "Hey, I put it on my performance review. Got named on the Forbes, top 200."
They absolutely will. They absolutely
that's great
will. So
until you put on your performance review the following year that you were hacked too.
Well, what a
so
sad
negative, Tyler.
the cutoff is less than a year ago. The cutoff for having a disclosed breach
was it?
Isn't that what you just said? December 2022?
January 1st, 2022. Yeah, I think they're looking at 2022 and into like obviously the first few months of this year. I can understand that if you go back too far, you might have to adjust who the CISO is or who, like, I don't know. Nothing's perfect. I don't think the list is a great idea. I think it's problematic at best, and I agree with Adrian in his tweet. Basically, this seems to be a hey everyone, these are the best, most secure companies in the world, and many may take that as a challenge. Many may have already stepped up to the challenge, to Katie's point, like maybe they're already there. We have to assume breach in a lot of organizations.
If I have the time, I already have the spreadsheet started. I may start a tracker for this.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
try and keep track. See what the outcome is. Might be because it's a small sample size. Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you really want to get extra spicy, Adrian, put that list up, put all 200 up there, and then just put a time to exploit number there, days to exploit, and it'll turn into a freaking leaderboard. People will be like, "Oh yes, I win!" It'll gamify it. It'll be bad.
A Deadpool.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly. You can bet on it. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I don't want to dance on the failures of others, but it's at the same time, I don't know. Yeah, you should celebrate your successes, but not like this. It's just the wrong way to go about it, I think.
I wonder if they contacted these companies, and in particular, the CISOs, before they published the list.
I can certainly find out.
I think I read everybody presented.
So the sample size I checked with is fairly small, but from at least 6 of these, I know that they were notified. They weren't asked if they wanted to participate or not, they were notified that they were going to be on the list.
Yeah, because I just have to wonder, if this went to a PR person, you might get one response. And
if it goes to the CISO, a different one, right?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of the responses to my tweet were, can I pay to not be on this list?
Exactly. I would think if I were in a CISO position, I might have to think really long and hard if I wanted my company on this list, and if I had the ability to claw it back, I might.
Yeah.
Like, just your job as a CISO isn't to be like, hello, we're safe. It's just, stay under the covers a little bit and do your job.
Yeah, I mean, even starting a bug bounty, like, you want to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row before you do that, because that's going to attract a whole bunch of attention. I mean, you're basically saying, also come hack me. So yeah, part of the joke here is, they just got, all these companies just started a bug bounty, basically. Because people are going to get curious. They're going to go look. The other hot take here is we had an RIP metaverse story last week. This week, it's actually a book review of a book that kind of goes through the history of cryptocurrency. But ends up being a fairly comprehensive takedown of cryptocurrency and blockchain. So that was it's an interesting read. It's definitely pretty one-sided in terms of their opinion of the both the industry and the technology.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we all fell for a little bit of that craziness. I don't know that I fell for the Bitcoin becomes the next cash of the universe commentary, but I certainly fell for the compute on the chain, non-reputable, whatever the correct terminology is, to say that it's auditable and nothing can be changed on the chain itself. And then the ether concept of contracts, right? Smart contracts. That stuff excited the hell out of me, but never got us anywhere. Just never got us anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the simple fact that, mistakes are forever now. Theft is forever. Like, there's no undo for a lost wallet. Consumer protection can't exist, by definition. Yeah, it was a huge problem. It wasn't built into it.
Yep, absolutely.
I think for the rest of our kind of downer news, Crunchbase has a list of startups that failed in 2023. That's number 15 here. And then we've also got number 19, a startup mass extinction event has begun. You can't see it clearly yet, but it's going to be bad, from Business Insider.
That was a hard read.
Yeah.
It was a hard read.
I think it's inflammatory. I really do. I mean, I think there's going to be a bunch of deaths, no doubt. Like, you're going to see them kind of start to fizzle out and not be able to get funded. And, I think when you overheat, you overcool, and the pendulum's going to swing back just as hard as it swung forward in 2021. It's going to swing to the other side in 2023. And yeah, we're going to see a lot of them just fizzle out and die. But the good ones won't, right? The good ones will remain. And, your robot pizza delivery garbage raising $500 million, that's going to die. Right? I mean, we could have predicted that a long time ago. But the good ones, or at least the reasonably good ones, will remain good. And they'll come back around. I describe them as the phoenix that will rise out of the ashes of what we're about to see happen in the second half of this year.
But I also think that through no fault of their own, a lot of employees, I'm not talking about the executive teams and the leadership teams and the higher ups.
Oh, it's definitely their fault.
Well, but they're going to be fine no matter what. And there are going to be a lot of people who came in, not just to cybersecurity, but tech in general. And now their livelihoods depend on it. And they're going to have a really, really hard time. And I think the fact that VCs have been allowed to go unchecked for a really long time, because they're not going to die. They're not going to be the ones who are hurt. They're betting on some companies rather, failing. I mean, that's the equation. It's just math to them. So they're going to be okay. The executives are going to be okay, but they're going to be just like 2008. A lot of people in lower level jobs who are going to take quite literally years to rebound.
Yeah. Well, there are some other items here that I think are worth checking out. Mark Andreessen's next big essay that feels like it's maybe at the same level as Software's Eating the World, called Why AI Will Save the World, is on our list this week. But I want to jump down to the squirrel story. We're going to a little bit shorter news segment than usual today, but and it's an AI squirrel to boot. French tax officials use AI to spot 20,000 undeclared pools. Get some extra
brilliant.
tax.
This is brilliant. They use image-based.
Yeah. Who had this on their AI use case bingo card, right?
Oh my gosh. The system developed by Google and Capgemini can identify pools on aerial images and cross-check them with land registry databases. Launched as an experiment a year ago, and 9 French departments uncovered 20,356 untaxed pools.
And not surprisingly, it is a 30% margin of error. Not only was it mistaking solar panels for swimming pools, but it was failing to pick up taxable extensions hidden under trees or in the shadows of property.
That's right in line with government work, right?
Yeah, good enough. 30% error, whatever. We'll figure that out later.
Well, you send the tax bill and see what happens. I guess that's the approach, right?
Right. It's kind of like reverse insurance. Like you assume that they owe the money and let them fight it, right?
Yeah. The government will say, "Prove to me you don't have a pool. Come over and look at my backyard."
Yes. Welcome. I will roll out the red carpet. I mean,
it's a trampoline. It's not a pool.
It's a really big trampoline.
And it's red.
Yeah. Bloody pool? I don't know. Someone get injured?
That's maybe you have an algae bloom. I don't know. Do you get taxed if you can't use it? If it's not well taken care of? I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Interesting use of AI. We're going to continue to see stuff like that, and I'm going to continue keeping an eye out for, some unanticipated outcomes. An
upside down squirrel is upsetting.
All right. Anything else? Any other thoughts from you guys before we wrap here?
For me, I love the squirrels. The squirrels look great on the screen.
I agree. And we got a new hot take graphic today also that works with the new 4-up display that we're doing for video. So thanks to Sean for that, Sean and Gus for all the work they do behind the scenes. And thanks to Katie. Thanks to Katie, Tyler, and the other Sean, the Sean that you're seeing and hearing, for joining me on today's episode.
Absolutely.
Big thanks to everyone watching or listening to this week's episode, and we will not see you next week.